Hey everybody, welcome back to the Overwatch Project. In this video, I'm going to assume that most of you watching out there already know about the concept of the Loosh farm, reincarnation, soul trap, matrix, or holographic universe theory, and a lot of the other things I've already talked about on my channel. And if you're new here, check out overwatchproject.com for a very brief but thorough introduction here that it kind of explains everything briefly, and then you can start doing your own research into what I'm talking about if you're coming at this and don't fully understand what's going on. Now, in this video, I want to talk to you about the origins of the Sumerian civilization and how it all connects with game theory, the holographic universe, the reincarnation system, and the Loosh farm concept. Now, the weird thing about the Sumerian civilization, and something I've never talked about on my channel before, is that their origins are truly unknown. Nobody really knows exactly how they came about to be the way they were. They just seem to be an advanced civilization that basically pops up in history and it's just there. And it's got some amazing technology and innovations. So they basically establish the government tard uh, belief in authority. They establish laws. They establish military. They established certain sciences, a lot of mathematics, very advanced mathematics, understanding of astronomy, astrology, magic, the capability of doing certain surgeries, even eye surgery, medicines, water, agriculture, control, all kinds of stuff that just poof appears, and there is no official explanation for or mainstream ability to explain it. Now, of course, if you start connecting all the dots with this is a holographic universe that we exist in, and a reincarnation soul kind of system with amnesia, then a lot of this stuff can make sense. And I have a hypothesis here because in a concept of a Loosh farm, you want naive souls basically to start think about the existence of individual consciousness souls that are existing in sometimes very boring environments out there in the multiverse. And here you have an exciting um, existence to offer them where they can experience basically concept of mortality, an immortal being that doesn't remember that they're immortal, and they can experience what they conceptually understand but don't really understand until they get into the system here. uh, the turmoils of good versus evil, suffering, death, all this other stuff. And with repeated amnesia, this is not a learning experience. It's more like a very complex, very hard to play game. And it has to offer an out because if it doesn't, it would probably violate some natural laws. So, in order to create the system that it uses, it has to have kind of like a video game, levels, and eventually a kind of an end, and then a reboot where you play over again. And because there's amnesia involved, I mean, think about it. If you were playing a video game and you can't remember when you get to the end and you start over, which is every lifetime, on top of that, the game itself recycles and begins over again. And how would you want such a game to begin? Well, if you have non cohesive hunter gatherers that kind of like roam around the earth. That's kind of a poor Loosh form. However, if you have a civilization at the Buddha point, where you have kind of like an advanced civilization with fully pre-packaged beliefs and religions and kind of like a start, and you already know that as these things get passed on from one civilization to upcoming civilizations, whatever they might be, these things will simply carry on, get altered, plagiarized, as you can see that, right? So the Sumerians to the Babylonians to the Akkadians to the Israelites to eventually the Christians, and it's all the same stories that originated in Sumer, but then they get altered and plagiarized and morphed to control people in their current culture and politics. And politics itself is an invention that is based on a fiction. There is no such thing. It's just bullshit control mechanisms. And but in a Loosh farm, to get maximum yield, you want this constant conflict. You want this constant conflict that comes with a society, a hierarchical civilization, because that is the best environment when you think about it to make Loosh, or to make the energy that I guess souls release when they're in constant conflict. You can't get a better system than that, right? Even in like all the time, it's always division, usually between two sides, constantly battling each other, and it keeps going on and on and on. We don't have any idea. The archaeologists, the scientists cannot explain with their materialist ideals how this Sumerian civilization came about. But if it was like a video game, it just boots into that part. And then people that have incarnations with amnesia can actually, some in the beginning of the boot up game, some of them, I guess, start off as possibly adults with false memories. This is just a hypothesis, and it's not really based on anything except the totality of information about the Loosh farm, and this is simply a concept of how it might work, and not really like, oh, this is definitely how it works. It's just like a loose hypothesis because it does answer a lot of questions. I mean, think about it. The Sumerians had even like the printing press, right? They had the ability to, well, they wrote on clay tablets, so we have their originals preserved. It's like the only ancient civilization where we have practically all their original writings from the time that they wrote them. And then later you have all these like um, basically like writings that are hundreds of years, sometimes half a millennia apart. I think the Buddhists, they don't have their original writings. The earliest they have is 500 years after. In the Christians, they have writings that are almost a century after. They don't have anything from the original time period. And yet these people, like in modern day Christianity, base their beliefs as like they know the only truth, unless you start, peeling away your cognitive dissonance and actually reading the entire Bible and then dissecting it and using non-cognitive dissonance comprehension skills on the what it says in the book. Then everything kind of crumbles apart. But like in these early texts, you can see where everything was later plagiarized and changed for future civilizations. But what if, like the Matrix works or the holographic universe works something like this? What if it boots up with a fake history and at a certain time period? So, like what you see here is a still shot from a Tomb Raider, um, one of the Tomb Raider games. Lara Croft is obviously entering some ancient ruin here, but the ancient ruin isn't really ancient, and it really isn't a ruin. It's a fake history that has been put into the video game, and And in the video game, this is an ancient ruin with ancient history, but it's not really there because it was created ancient from the moment the video game booted up. As you're playing the video game with some belief suspended, there you can play as Lara Croft, and you can um, go through these different levels, and then you can try to get to the end of this particular game and then win the game. There's usually a boss level at the end. In real life, you have consciousness that incarnates here, then goes, with an agreement to the terms of service of doing that, and then goes through lifetime after lifetime after lifetime with little pockets of the ability to win the game. And what do I mean by win the game? The game, I think, you win when you figure out what you're really doing here, which is reincarnating with amnesia in a soul farm system, and then you realize that you've been under the delusion of authorities, of religiousness, of government tardism, and then you free yourself from and you reclaim your own authority over yourself, your own personal sovereignty, and then you choose to leave. And it's that simple. It's really hard, but it's also simple at the same time, if you know what I'm saying. So what ends up happening is the system has points where you can win and exit. And we have those marked in history, I think. So you have the Tibetan Buddhists with their Book of the Dead and their instruction manual on how to break the reincarnation cycle. Probably very close to some of the other ones that pop up, like the Gnostics and the Cathars. And then in modern times, you have the information age, which is like the ultimate peak point where you can figure it out. You have somebody like Robert Monroe come along, and then William Buhlman and others. And then you have people starting to remember about the Gnostics, about the Cathars. You have the Tibetan Book of the Dead, which was kind of like out of purview of the rest of the world for a long time. And then in like the 1960s, it starts propping up in Western culture and civilization. And then you have the rediscovery of psychedelics, which and help possibly awaken you. And then you have out of body experiences, the medical sciences with the ability to resuscitate people that have died longer and longer into death. And then you have a case after case of near death experiences. You have the information age, which helps you pull this all together. And then you have the ability to figure it out, like I did, I think. And many of you watching my videos, I think, are there. And even with these AI tools, which are mostly useless if they're being used to manipulate you, but if they're not, if they don't have an instruction to manipulate you, AI is useful in a way to synthesize and collate data and summarize a whole bunch of data very, very quickly. And so when you can tell the difference when you're using AI, whether or not it's a very simple thing. It's tone, the way it's talking to you, the way it's trying to push you in a direction. If it's not, then it's probably not been programmed to lie about certain things. And for some reason, these AIs don't seem to lie about the reincarnation soul trap, holographic universe theory, none of that. It seems to have a just open discussion about these things. And it's willing to go along with the theory and explore it in an honest way. So in this video, in the description section, you'll find basically the links that I'm showing you here on the screen. They'll all be below. And all these videos, my homepage, overwatchproject.com, these very interesting videos that explain that the unknown history of Sumer, the mystery of older resets like Gobekli Tepe, or that mystery that nobody seems to know anything much about. a short video here from Tomb Raider about quest design and how the game works. And I'm going to link to these two talks. One's with Gemini and one is with Grok. And I hope you explore this source material I'm giving you, because I think you'll see how it all comes together. And the talk with Grok and Gemini seem to really, really will close out the argument I'm trying to make here. The possibility that, I don't know when it'll happen exactly, but if I'm right, then, and others have talked about it too, the matrix here, the reincarnation system, resets after a while. We can only advance to a certain point, like a boss level in a video game. And then if you're too entrenched in your earthly existence here and your cognitive dissonance and your biases, that you cannot free your mind from your brain and figure out what's really going on here, then you're probably going to go right back and continuously cycle through this reality over and over and over again for who knows how many thousands, possibly millions of lifetimes before you come to a point where you figure it out. But that's just how the game is played. We probably agreed to this as we didn't really fully understand what we were agreeing to, but just like any other product, when you buy it, there's a terms of service and a privacy policy, and we click I accept, and then we're in the system, right? And the privacy policy here is really bad, because not only do we live in a world where in the earthly existence now they're spying on everything that you're doing, but honestly, through the life review process and through the knowledge that there's something like an akashic records of everything, then we know that basically after death you go through, if you get caught up in the grip of the system and you don't break away, you'll probably go through a life review, which is total invasion of your privacy. And so the privacy policy of the reincarnation system sucks. The terms of service suck, but we thought we were getting a really useful experience. And as a naive soul, why wouldn't you agree to something like this? It looks fun from the outside. You can only conceptually understand good versus evil and extreme suffering from an exterior point of view where you've never actually experienced it before. Once you get out of here, I assume you do probably achieve some kind of benefit of being like a god level, god tier being, probably. But again, only a few people or a few souls manage to pull that off, because the system here is geared up against it. It's a very tough video game. If you win, you are a great gamer. I hope that you understand what I was getting at here. Again, if you're new, go to my website, overwatchproject.com. Read the introduction here. My latest video will usually appear here as a featured video. And if you want to know a complete picture, this is a almost 3 hour video here, where I go through the entire, basically, whole concept of my ideas, the totality of the information I'm working with in that video. Check out all the other links on my website here, and hopefully you'll find it useful. I want to thank you for tuning in, and I hope that you all found this useful whenever you happen to be watch this, morning, night, or evening. And I'll see you all next time on the Overwatch Project. Thanks. Bye-bye.